What if a town could simply disappear? Not because of war. Not because of a natural disaster. But because something beneath the ground refused to stop burning. Imagine living in a quiet American town where families had lived for generations. Kids rode their bikes down the streets. Neighbors knew each other by name. And life moved slowly just the way small towns are supposed to. But one day, something invisible started spreading underground. At first, nobody noticed. Then the ground began cracking. Smoke started rising from the earth. And slowly, the town began to vanish. This is the true story of Centralia, Pennsylvania, the American town that disappeared from the map. A normal American town. In the early 1900s, Centralia was just like many small towns across America. It sat quietly in the hills of Pennsylvania and was built around one industry: coal mining. Coal was the lifeblood of the town. Nearly every family had someone working in the mines. Miners would wake up before sunrise, head underground, and spend long hours digging the coal that powered homes, factories, and railroads across the country. By the 1950s, Centralia had more than 1,000 residents. There were schools filled with children, small grocery stores on the corner, churches that brought the community together every Sunday, and neighborhoods where everyone knew everyone else. From the outside, it looked like a peaceful and stable place to live. But deep below the streets, there was a hidden network of abandoned coal tunnels. And those tunnels were about to become the town's worst nightmare. The mistake that started it all. The disaster began in 1962. That year, the town council decided to clean up a local landfill. At the time, burning garbage was a common and accepted way to get rid of trash. Workers set the landfill on fire, expecting it to burn for a short time and then die out. But they didn't realize something critical. The landfill sat directly above old coal mine tunnels. When the fire burned through the trash, it reached the exposed coal beneath the ground. And once coal catches fire underground, it's incredibly difficult to stop. The flames spread quietly into the maze of abandoned tunnels below the town. At first, no one thought much about it. Small underground fires had happened before in mining areas. Most people assumed the fire would eventually burn itself out. But this one didn't. A fire that wouldn't die. Months passed. Then years. But the fire beneath Centralia kept spreading. Slowly, silently, moving through miles of underground coal. The heat underground grew stronger. Soon, strange things started happening around town. Residents noticed smoke rising from cracks in the ground. In winter, patches of snow would suddenly melt in certain areas, revealing warm earth underneath. Some basements started filling with strange gases. Still, many people tried to ignore it. After all, Centralia was their home. And abandoning an entire town seemed impossible. But the warning signs kept getting worse. The day everything changed. In 1981, something happened that terrified the entire community. A 12-year-old boy named Todd Domboski was playing in his backyard. Without warning, the ground beneath him suddenly collapsed. A massive sinkhole opened up, about 150 feet deep. Thick smoke and hot gases poured out from the hole. For a moment, it looked like the boy would fall straight into the burning mine below. Thankfully, a relative nearby managed to pull him to safety just in time. But that moment changed everything. It proved that the fire wasn't just underground anymore. The ground itself was becoming unstable. And people's lives were now in serious danger. The government steps in. By the early 1980s, the underground fire had spread across a large area beneath the town. Scientists studied the situation and came to a shocking conclusion. The fire might continue burning for hundreds of years. Extinguishing it would cost an enormous amount of money, and there was no guarantee it would even work. Eventually, the U.S. government made a difficult decision. Residents of Centralia would be offered money to relocate. The government began buying homes and helping families move to safer areas. But many residents refused at first. Their families had lived there for generations. Their memories were tied to those streets, those houses, and those neighborhoods. Leaving meant abandoning their entire way of life. But as the ground kept cracking and toxic gases continued rising, people slowly began to leave. The town slowly empties. Over the next several years, Centralia started to change. Families packed their belongings and moved away. Houses were abandoned. Schools closed. Businesses shut their doors. The lively streets that once echoed with children's laughter became quiet. Many homes were eventually demolished to prevent people from returning. Grass and trees slowly began taking over the empty land. The town that once held more than 1,000 people was shrinking rapidly. By the 1990s, only a small handful of residents remained, erased from the map. Eventually, something extraordinary happened. The town's zip code was officially removed. Without a zip code, Centralia was effectively erased from official maps. Mail could no longer be delivered there. In many ways, it was as if the town had stopped existing. Today, only a few stubborn residents still live there. They refuse to leave the place they call home. But nearly everything else is gone. Most buildings have been torn down. Roads lead to empty land where neighborhoods once stood. Nature is slowly reclaiming the area. The fire still burns. What makes Centralia's story even more incredible is that the fire underground never stopped. More than 60 years later, it is still burning beneath the surface. Experts believe it could continue burning for another 200 years or more. Some areas still release steam and smoke through cracks in the ground. Visitors sometimes report feeling heat rising from the earth itself. It's a constant reminder of the disaster that erased an entire town. A town that became a warning. The story of Centralia is more than just a strange piece of history. It's also a warning about the hidden dangers of underground coal fires. Similar fires exist in other parts of the world today. But Centralia became one of the most famous examples. A place where a simple mistake led to a disaster that could not be stopped. A town where families once built their lives, now mostly forgotten. Today, if you drive through the hills of Pennsylvania, you might pass near where Centralia once stood. You won't see many houses. You won't hear children playing. But beneath the quiet ground, the fire is still there. Still burning. Still spreading slowly through the old coal seams. And it may continue burning long after everyone who once lived there is gone. Centralia is proof that sometimes the most dangerous disasters are the ones we can't see. The ones that start quietly, beneath our feet. And sometimes, they can erase an entire town from the map.